Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. So my name is Paulo and today we're going to be talking then about tools to better manage your project. Okay, so we're going to be talking also in concrete about some of the benefits and the pitfalls that you should be actually taking a look at. Okay, so in concrete, we're going to be talking about your to-do tools. Okay, what are the top to-do tools that you should be actually looking at, but also in terms of project management, project planning, but also in terms of note-taking, DevOps, and chatting. Okay, because that is also important. Okay, so stick around. So looking to your daily tools, okay, what is it that you should be looking at? So essentially I'm going to be sharing my personal view, okay? So for this, I normally take a look at Trello, okay? But aside from that, also into Microsoft Planner, but also as an alternative, also ClickUp, okay? So what are the main differences between those three options? So to start from, Trello is essentially free, okay? So that is a very good starting point. You also have Microsoft Planner that is part of the Microsoft package. Okay, in order for you to actually have access to that, you need to have part of the Microsoft package. Looking at ClickUp, it has two versions. Okay, one that is free and another one that you have to pay in order to actually have access to more features. Okay, what is important on all of those is actually give you loads of let's say flexibility for you to actually to create your Kanban board, like for instance with to do, ongoing, blockers, whatever you'd like to call it. Okay, all of them actually allow for that, so it's highly flexible, so you can change the names, you can do color coding, but also you can actually add all of that to a specific date assigned to different people. So all of that is actually brilliant. Okay, so what is it that then starts to set them apart from each other? Okay, so if you go more into detail, and if we start with for instance Trello. Trello is a kind of simpler version, let's put it like that, of Jira. Okay, and we'll talk about Jira in a second, but essentially it allows for and it's actually more focused for a to-do, okay, but it has access to a kind of a marketplace. So on top of what you actually have with Trello, you can add other things, okay, like for instance integrations, charts, specific color coding, etc. If we take a look into ClickUp or even to Planner, okay, both of which allow for you to actually to have lists, Gantt charts. It's much more powerful and it goes, let's say, a bit beyond what is a normal to do. Okay, but all of them are very good solutions. Normally speaking, for the to do, I work with Trello. Okay, so that's it for this one, so stick around. So let's then talk about project management tools. Okay, so on this one, I would highlight two tools. Okay, so one is Jira and the other one is ClickUp. Okay, so ClickUp, let's say, is the new player in town. Okay, I would say that ClickUp is quite strong in terms of entry level and mid level, okay, because it allows for everything that you would need in terms of a project management with certain exceptions. Okay, so let me try to break it down for you. Okay, so to start from, ClickUp has two versions, essentially one that is free, another one that is paid. Okay, so the same happens with Jira, one that is free, another one that is paid. What are the difference between the two of that? So one, it allows for you to have access to not all the features, let's say, and we are talking about ClickUp on the free version, okay, while for instance on Jira you can have access to all the features that you normally have on Jira, but you have a threshold that is roughly around 10 people that you can actually have in relation to that free Jira, let's put it like that. Okay, so that is already a difference between the two solutions. Then what I would say is that, for instance, with ClickUp, you can expect a very very user friendly, okay, in terms of usage. It's easy to adopt, easy to understand, but also it's like very easy to read. You can have timelines, you have Gantt charts, you can assign to people, you have also things that are very useful from a project management perspective is you can actually have budget against that, you can have costs. So it's actually very interesting in terms of a tool. I would say that I would position ClickUp much more as a kind of project management tool for one single team, let's put it like that, that allows for much more of a combination of the project management on a daily basis, but also connected to the budget, to the costs, etc. While, for instance, Jira is much more of an enterprise kind of solution, okay? Much more scalable because it allows for cross-team, okay, while ClickUp not as much. It allows for much more complex workflows. It has a strong marketplace where you can actually add more things on top of Jira, but also it has other stuff, like for instance, if you're already using CRM systems, and for instance, imagine that you are using Salesforce, so Jira already connects to your Salesforce. So for instance, if you are developing, for instance, a change request process on top of Salesforce, and if you want to update, for instance, the current situation of a marketing ticket or of a sales ticket, whatever that may be, that will then be reflected already on Jira, for instance, okay, if you have the integration between the two solutions. With ClickUp, that still cannot be done. So in a nutshell, and just to summarize, I would say that Jira is much more of a stronger solution that is much more geared towards agile work, cross-team work. It's much scalable, it has much stronger workflows, while for instance ClickUp is much more a solution for entry-level, mid-level. It allows for more of a single team approach where you can actually have all the customization that you can think of in terms of color coding, in terms of status, in terms of actually assigning people, putting budget, costs, etc. Okay, which is quite powerful and interesting. So that's it for this one. Stick around for the next one. So talking about project planning, so what are the tools that I would highlight and that I actually use? Okay, so here I'm going to highlight two tools. Okay, so one is called Smartsheets and the other one is ClickUp. Okay, so as you can tell, ClickUp is like a tool that I'm falling in love with because it's much more of an end-to-end kind of solution, and it's actually quite geared towards, for instance, entry-level companies, mid-level companies that are looking for a kind of a box-to-box kind of product. Okay, but looking into the specific point and talking about planning, what are the big things, let's say, that you're going to have on both solutions? Okay, so if we look at Smartsheets, so Smartsheets is actually a solution that it's quite user friendly for those that are actually used to Excel, okay, because it resembles Excel, so allows for you to put your tasks, allows for you to actually assign to a given date. Okay, it's quite flexible, so you're gonna have some options that you can choose from. Also, it allows for you to have a Gantt view, which is quite cool, but then also allows for you to actually have a reporting solution. Okay, but one thing that is actually quite interesting, it has a public version or a free version. But this version normally, if I'm not mistaken, it lasts roughly 30 days or so, okay? Which is good enough if you want to look to try, okay? So then what is it that you can actually do with Smartsheets that for me it's quite interesting? You can actually export it to Excel, okay? Or you can actually do the flip side, okay? So you can actually have something already done in Excel, okay, and you can actually load it into the Smartsheet solutions. Smartsheet is also possible to integrate, for instance, with a solution such as Salesforce CRM, okay, which I think is quite cool for you to actually to do all the planning and actually understand what are the different tasks, who should be doing what against what date, okay. So this is Smartsheets in a nutshell. Okay, so looking at ClickUp, so as I mentioned already, it allows for you to assign people, but the thing that for me it's important here to highlight is then the Gantt chart solution. Okay, and this is why I put this as a planning tool as well, because with a Gantt chart you can actually have much more control, let's say, and actually have an overview of where do things actually stand against target. Okay, so essentially that's it. My personal let's say inclination goes to Smartsheets, but nevertheless I think that ClickUp is a very good solution. Okay, so stick around for the next one. So let's then talk about one thing that I would say that is highly important when you are actually doing projects, okay? And we are talking about note taking, okay? Some people actually use the basic notepad for this, but there are other solutions, okay? So personally speaking, I would highlight three, okay? So one is actually the Word, okay, which is still a very good solution. The other one is OneNote, and then you have Evernote. Okay, so one of the things that I do like about Word is that it's actually quite user friendly. Everyone knows how to use it, but it's much more geared to putting the notes in one single project or related to one single project. Okay, so for instance, if you look at OneNote, okay, OneNote is actually, in my view, much more flexible. It allows for you to create different tabs where you can actually have, let's say, a specific project, and then you're gonna have, let's say, sub-projects or subtasks connected to that specific project where you can actually have comments. Okay, it's cloud-based, you can share, and it's much let's say geared towards collaboration than, for instance, the Word. Also, just to take that into consideration, Word also has an online version, let's put it like that, so you can actually share that. But yeah, it's much more not, let's say, it's not as geared towards collaboration as, for instance, on the case of the second solution. Okay, so looking then into Evernote. Okay, so Evernote is an app that allows for loads of good stuff, sticky notes. It allows for you to actually to have much more of a collaborative kind of an approach. Okay, but if we put all of this together, my personal advice would be for you to take a look into OneNote, because, as I said, it's much more geared towards collaboration, allows for you to actually to have online accessibility. You can actually access it wherever you are. Plus, it has the different tabs that is actually quite important for you to keep everything tight and organized. Okay, so take a look into that one. Okay, so stick around for the next one. So looking into DevOps solutions, so what is it that I would highlight? So I'm gonna highlight three solutions. So one is AutoRabbit, the other one is Copado, and then you have Flossom. Okay, so why is it that DevOps is important? I'm gonna try to give you a simple example. Okay, like for instance, normally speaking, imagine that you're using a CRM solution such as Salesforce. Okay, and what you'd like to is you have your project, the project was thought, the business requirements were gathered together with the customer, and you need to build something for the marketing department or the sales department, and therefore you're going to be using one environment that, normally speaking, it's called Sandbox, okay, where you build the solution, let's put it like that. And then you need to move to another Sandbox for you to actually to start testing, okay, and eventually you're gonna be moving then into production, okay. If that's the case, normally speaking, you're gonna be doing that using change sets, okay. But there is a major problem or several major problems with change sets. So they are heavily manual, they are quite prone to error, okay, and therefore if you are relying on those, it's likely then you're gonna have massive problems when you go into production, okay. This is where the solutions come along, okay. Why? Because they automate a big part of the work, okay. So for instance, on the case of Flossom, you can automatically refresh the different environments. So the developer environment, the testing environment can be refreshed automatically. So that's a big plus. Plus, it allows, for instance, for code review, it allows for data migration, it allows, for instance, for the what's called Selenium tests, okay, that for instance are regression testing. And why is this important? Because for instance, if you finish your project, you move into production, okay, there is a new functionality that goes into production to better support your marketing department, your sales department. But then if that actually crashes something, that's what you'd like very much to know before it does happen, okay. And this is why regression testing is important, and this is where, for instance, a solution such as Flossom or Copado or AutoRabbit play a role as well, okay. So what are then the big differences between all of them? So as I mentioned, all of them actually have code comparison. You can do org comparison or environment comparison to keep it simple, but also you can automate loads of things. All of that is brilliant. Then we're going to be starting to look at the big differences between the two. So Copado and AutoRabbit are more, let's say, within the same league, although I would say that Copado is a bit better than AutoRabbit. Okay, but then you have, for instance, Flossom, and I can give you this disclaimer because I'm a Flossom certified. Maybe then I'm a bit biased, but nevertheless, okay, I do think that Flossom is actually the best solution. Why? Because it's much easier to use in terms of user friendliness. It's completely native to Salesforce, so it's built on top of Salesforce. You do not have to share any kind of data with Flossom. Is actually kept within your Salesforce, which I think is a very good solution for. Then you have another thing that I believe that is quite good. It's like the third-party connection, the marketplace, let's say, that connects to third parties into Flossom. It's much bigger than, for instance, with regards to the other ones, okay? Like for instance, with Flossom, you can connect Jira, which is a very strong situation, because then you can actually have, you are running your CRM, you are doing your project planning, project management, sorry, and then at the same time you are prepping everything with your DevOps solution and running everything into production at the same time, error free, okay? So this is why you should be looking then into DevOps solutions. So then let's talk about instant chatting, okay? So you may think that this is completely trivial and it's no importance whatsoever for a good project management. I can say to you that most likely you're gonna think otherwise when I close this. Why? Because more and more we are working towards remote setting, okay? We are working with people across the planet. Even if you're just looking at your country, you're gonna be working in a remote setting, okay? And even on your city, okay? So it's important for you actually to have a solution that actually supports proper chatting and collaboration, okay? This is where, for instance, the two solutions that I'm gonna propose come along. One is Slack and the other one is Microsoft Teams, okay? So what are the differences between the two of those, okay? So Slack was actually bought not so long ago by Salesforce, okay? So it allows for loads of collaboration. You can create groups, you can create directories, you can add extra, let's say, third parties into Slack, and you can also integrate Slack into Salesforce, okay? Like extra integrations could be, for instance, a survey solution, a poll, whatever that you want to actually build inside Slack, but also you can actually connect into different Slacks, okay? So you can actually have your internal Slack with your team, but you can actually talk to someone else via, let's say, an integration between the two instances of Slack. Okay, so Slack is a very good solution, has a very big, I would say, pitfall. It needs to be really well governed. If not, then there is a tendency to fall into chaos. Okay, happy chaos, but nevertheless chaos. Okay, so then you have chatting or chat by Teams. Okay, so this is actually a much more, I would say, between brackets, gray solution, not as happy as Slack, but nevertheless is very robust. Okay, allows for you to actually do calling as well as Slack. Allows for you to create groups as Slack does, but also you can exchange files, you can upload files, you can do instant chatting, you can put yourself with emojis as you do, for instance, with Slack, which actually allows for you to exchange let's say happy thoughts across the project. Okay, so this is some of the reasons why instant chatting is quite important, even more on this current setting. Okay, so that's it. Hopefully this was an interesting session. Okay, join me on this journey, subscribe, take care, and if you have any questions whatsoever with regards to project management, just give me a shout. I'm happy to help. Okay, see you. Bye bye.